the 22nd of March, 2021. More like the 13th of October 536. Man, this day sucked. This day was just, no. So, it starts off as just an ordinary routinely school day of the time I'm forced to wake up. The only thing I'm allowed to have for breakfast on weekdays is toast. I still attended school, and my mum was still living with her ex-partner. But because it was so long ago, I can't remember who woke up to watch us while we ate breakfast. And there was shit on the TV as always. I remember that day. It was a choice between Cartoon Network or Boomerang. In other words, Teen Titans Go or Tom and Jerry. Since we were not allowed to watch shit on Netflix at that time, because my parents established a policy where we were only allowed to watch live TV on weekday mornings. I wanted to watch Tom and Jerry, but my sister wanted to watch Teen Titans Go. Since back then, my parents would always prioritize my sister first, particularly my mum's ex-partner, because my sister was the favorite, and I was the one getting grounded over the stupidest shit. So I was like, okay, that's not going to bug me much, I'll just ignore the TV in that case. But the next thing you know, the TV's volume is adjusted so high it blocks my train of thought. So I just sat there and sulked. Also, it was hot and sunny, and because the old house we were living in was a new build, the house was like a sauna, about roughly 29 degrees Celsius. And it wasn't even a heat wave. It was relatively breezy outside. New builds are just naturally like a sauna in hot weather. I felt jealous for those living in an old house. Anyway, I finished breakfast, and because the living room is below the street on one side since the house was built on a hill, I was allowed to wait in my bedroom, which, awkwardly enough, was placed right next to the front door. So I waited, and waited, and waited, and waited some more. The taxi was late, because they interchanged drivers from my regular one to a temporary one, which forced me to wear a COVID mask. Yeah, because changing drivers is more of a priority than getting to school on time. And on top of that, being forced to wear a mask. And as you probably can tell, I hate wearing face masks. And my mental disabilities only push that further. Anyway, I got to school. It was a regular day, nothing too special. And it was a Monday. And I'm pretty sure I would start Mondays with maths. So yeah, pretty average school morning. Then for some reason, instead of break happening after first lesson, we awkwardly have first reward instead, which is weird, because every other class goes outside after first lesson. But anyway, it's first reward, 3 total rewards per day, and you only get 10 minutes max as long as you behave. But yeah, all I did was play Moto X3M on cool math games. Then we have English, and honestly, I can't fucking remember what we studied. So anyway, snack was fruit, which isn't very filling, but is healthy I guess. I had a banana, and first break, I think I either played zombie tag with some of my friends, or I just wandered around the playground aimlessly. So the third lesson was PSHE, and unlike most other schools, which only teach you shit like road safety and shit along the lines of that, we were actually learning about minimum wage jobs. Something actually important for adulthood, instead of teaching us basic common sense which most 6-year-olds already know. So it was second reward, and it was my turn on the rota to play on the class's PS4. It was alright. The TV could do with some adjustments though. Like for instance, it has motion smoothing, which causes a delay, and also it shows artifacts where the AI struggles to upscale the motion to 120 frames per second. But anyway, game played was Crash Team Racing. Absolutely mint game. And obviously it was the remake, because unlike the PS3, the original game won't work on the PS4. I'm a fan of racers, especially Mario Kart, so you can imagine I would like Crash Team Racing. Anyway, it's lunch break. Yeah, because you should totally go outside while running on empty. So anyway, zombie tag, right, wrong. I had an unhealthy obsession with a girl called Steph, which when looking back to it now, she was low-key chopped. So yeah, I was obsessed for no other reason than because her nose looked nice. Yeah, for some reason that was one of my fetishes when I was younger, and I was roughly 14 here, about to turn 15. So yeah, Steph was talking to Taylor and Billy, you know, as friends do. Then it evolved into them making dark jokes, you know, ones that were actually funny, unless you were a 14-year-old who was an absolute fucking teacher's pet. So you can imagine they'd get annoyed with me. So for the majority of break, Taylor and Steph talked to one another, probably about roadman stuff, you know, bikes, trapstar jackets, the lot. Anyway, because I was an overly obsessive prick over the fact that Steph's nose wiggles as she talked, I decided to follow her the entire break, and Taylor got pretty pissed. In fact, Taylor never really liked me to begin with, and because I was at an age where this shit sinks in, and because this happened about 7 times throughout the entirety of second break, it put me in a bad mood. So we have dinner, and I think it was pasta carbonara, but I'm not entirely sure, since this was just an average school day other than the situation involving Taylor and Steph. Anyway, fourth lesson, science, and I refused to do some of it because of the situation outside. I was an absolute moron at the time. I mean, I did my science work as I was instructed to by my science teacher, but the situation from second break kept looping over and over again in my head, which further pushed me to insanity. So yeah, science was alright, and third reward was alright, because the playground was an option. So yeah, pretty standard day. I only made it feel like a bad day because I was in a bad mood. But yeah, so anyway, home time. I had the same driver as this morning. You know, the one that made me wear the mask. And yeah, that was it. All I did after that was play on my Xbox and tablet. So yeah, the 22nd of March, 2021, sucked. And so did the 15th of May, 2022. The 6th of August, 2023, is 795 times better than the 22nd of March, 2021. End of rant.